All of us default to the COO and we just show up and do the work, right? But that's why I keep saying it's not really the COO because you're not managing the work, you're just doing the work. Right. So most of us show up like an employee without a boss, right? And we just show the houses and do the things. So I think the way you focus more on the leadership role, which is CEO, and the money management CFO, you have to set the time aside. And you and I talk about this all the time. When is your CEO time? And I think I use that generically. To me, the CEO time includes the CFO time, right? You're going to put on those leadership managerial hats at a certain time, whether that's an hour on Sunday or you get to the office early on Wednesdays. You really do have to set that time aside. If you wait, like a lot of us do, until guess what, taxes are due, time to put on your CEO hat, woo, that's painful. So if you could come up with a system of what am I tracking and how often do I review it, I think that's the way. And we can talk about what those things are.
Amy, it's always good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you. Good morning.
So we got a theme in January about being the CEO of your business. We wanted to kind of continue the discussion around that theme and talk today about, who is the CEO, COO, and CFO in your real estate business, and what roles do they have?
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I guess I want to clarify. I want to back up a step, I guess, is what I always want to do. And I think we did a presentation quite a while ago on the concept of CEO. And I pointed out then that a lot of agents, when we challenge them with this thought, like, are you spending enough time putting the leadership hat on in your business? Or are you just in there showing houses all the time? That I felt that we need to differentiate between running a business and being self-employed, which may or may not be the same. And so in all fairness to agents listening who say, I've been doing this 25 years, my sphere always calls me, I sell 2 houses a month and I'm happy. That's fine, right? You don't need to take on new distinctions, shift the way you structure your day-to-day if you're happy and what you're doing is working, right? And so you may be relatively self-employed, you're independent, you control your time, you get to do whatever you want, and that's fine. When we talk about mirroring the corporate model for your real estate business, it's because we want to treat the business as more of a business rather than just, I don't work for anybody else, I work for myself. Right? No reason to make yourself schizophrenic with tons of extra jobs if just doing it by yourself is working. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and I, we brought this up a little bit, I think, after you went to one of the Tony Robbins events where he was talking about, do you have a business or do you have a job? And I think he was defining, and this was months ago, you need to remind me, but he was defining, a business is something that you can sell.
Yes. Right. And that's why I say, if there's somebody else who doesn't aspire to that, that's fine.
That's cool. Right.
That's fine. Being self-employed in real estate is a possibility. All right. But in this case, most often we're talking about establishing a business you can sell. But Charlie, I think even more immediate than that, because few agents do that. Agents develop a system that is so systematized, a business that is so systematized that they could sell it. But most of the rest of us could benefit wildly from having more structure and more discipline and more vision for the business that we're running. So the CEO role has to do with leadership and strategy. The CFO role has to do with managing the money and making sure that the numbers make sense. And the COO role, and in this case, it's actually, I don't think there is a COO because it's not like there's somebody managing the doers. The COO is just the doer, right?
Yep. Yes.
The chief operating officer just basically shows all the houses and goes on the appointments and does all the work. And if you're it, you're it. So you're the leader of the department and you're the chief one doing it. I think the difference is if you were put on your CFO hat, it doesn't mean you're going to become your own accountant. Heavens no.
Right.
So wearing your CFO hat means having better systems for preparing for taxes, having better ways of tracking your expenses, and being more money minded around what's coming in and what's going out, right? But absolutely delegating that. If you had a team, if you are not a solopreneur, being the COO, you could be clearer about how many things you're delegating to your assistant, to your marketing director, to your buyer's agents, things like that.
Good. I like that. So what if you are a solopreneur, right? How do you are the roles that we just described.
Right.
How do you make sure that you're spending some time in each role? Because you have to consciously do it, right? You have to consciously be a planner. You have to consciously get involved with the finances and planning, maybe hopefully a budget, right? And so on and so forth.
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing to recognize, the simplest way to say this is all of us default to the COO and we just show up and do the work, right? Yep. But that's why I keep saying it's not really the COO because you're not managing the work, you're just doing the work. Right. So most of us show up like an employee without a boss, right? And we just show the houses and do the things. So I think the way you focus more on the leadership role, which is CEO, and the money management CFO, you have to set the time aside. And you and I talk about this all the time. When is your CEO time? And I think I use that generically. To me, the CEO time includes the CFO time, right? You're going to put on those leadership managerial hats at a certain time, whether that's an hour on Sunday or you get to the office early on Wednesdays. You really do have to set that time aside. If you wait, like a lot of us do, until guess what, taxes are due, time to put on your CEO hat, woo, that's painful. So if you could come up with a system of what am I tracking and how often do I review it, I think that's the way. And we can talk about what those things are.
Well, yeah. Why don't we? I think now is not a bad time to do that, right? It's a new year. Taxes are coming. There are still lots of agents that don't do a good job of keeping track of their expenses, right? It's just a mess. Then you've got kind of the next year, which is a little more organized. They have the separate credit card that they just use for business purposes, right? They keep their receipts in an envelope, but at least they keep them. Then you've got others, that are using the apps that you and I have talked about to keep track of the expenses and mileage, and maybe they have a bookkeeper, right, that reviews the stuff every month. But all of these, well, the latter two have some sort of a plan, and then I was spending time over the weekend trying to figure out what my income was going to be in 2021. Right? I looked at what was 2020. And then I was estimating, right, based on what I thought was going to happen with parts of the business and sales and this and that, what I could expect for 2021. You could argue that I should have done this in November or December, right? And then my next step is going to be taking that and after taxes, allocating where that money goes. I want to be, and this is not a goal that I share with many people, but I want to be set up financially that if I want to retire at 55, which is in 11 years, then I can do that. Which means I have to put a lot of money away to be able to do that, right? So the next step this weekend when I have time is to look at my income and can I put enough money away to set me up to be able to retire in 11 years if I want. That doesn't mean that I'm going to retire in 11 years. I just want to be able to, yes, exactly. So everybody has different goals, but I think spending some time, we talk about business planning. Where did our transactions come from in 20? Where do they need to come from in 21? Where did the income come from in 20? Some of it are different sources, right? Where do we want it to come from in 21? How is that going to impact savings, an emergency fund, the solo 401k, all of that stuff? And it's just spending some time. And I use a Google Sheets chart. This is not sophisticated. Now I've got my stuff in Mint. Yeah. Right? We talked about Mint at one point. If you're comparing, a friend of mine and we were comparing how our net worth grew, right, year over year. And I think that that app, Mint, is really good at, if you don't look at anything else. Yeah. And it continues to go up, things are going okay. Right. They're going well instead of it going, down. Right. So if that's the only metric that you're looking at, but I'm going to, I use a sheet that I think Yvonne Arnold, who invented, right.
Yeah.
and I'm going to fill it out, right? Am I going to track it throughout the year as I should? I probably won't, to be totally honest. But I'm going to allocate the money that I expect to make and see how it's going to work, right? See if I can put as much money into Fidelity as I need to reach my, that 55 goal. So everybody's got goals, whether it's, retiring at 55 or the lake house or giving more money to charity or helping out the parents or the college fund, whatever it is. Maybe experiences in 2021 when we can travel again. I think experiences are going to be popular, right? And, being able to leave the house and go to Europe or whatever. How's that all fit, right? With what we expect. I think spending a couple hours, doing that is important. It's a budget for the business and it's a budget for personal as well. And it could be as simple as, if I spent everything I did in 21, am I okay? Right. And that's a fairly easy comparison to do. So,
well, I want to point out something that you said to clarify for everybody listening. Mint, it does track your net worth. It'll tell you how much you owe on your car, how much is left to pay off on your house, how much is in your retirement account, how much is in your checking account, and it just does it all. And it's free. Waveapp.com could serve the function that QuickBooks does. And I've shared this before. I have QuickBooks. I didn't realize when I signed up for it, it would be $25 a month for the rest of my life.
Right.
So it feels kind of like a lot right now. And then waveapp.com does almost exactly the same. I'm just not willing to rebuild the whole thing and get my accountant on board. But if you don't have it yet, if you don't have a way of tracking your business expenses, waveapp.com is free, absolutely fabulous. You want to look at maybe both of those, and I have both of those. So Charlie, I want us to clarify a little bit more. What does it mean to be the visionary leader? And so I'm going to look at my notes here to help everybody. And some of this is the reason I'm doing this is because we actually have a show planned for tracking numbers, which will include expenses too.
We do. You're right. Yeah. I'm jumping the gun, aren't I?
No, it's totally fine. I think you're doing great, because when we talk about numbers, the numbers that a CEO needs to be tracking, there's much more to it than expenses. So I think this is perfect. But I really want to clarify, the CEO is that focused leader. They have a vision for the culture and the direction of the company, right? They plan and implement a strategic plan that they made for the business, right? Hopefully your business plan is strategic. It's a strategy to get you where you want to go. We spent extra time yesterday in business planning at your brokerage talking about, okay, what are the steps then?
Right.
You chose such and such. Let's talk about how to implement that and make that true. The departments in your real estate business would be marketing, sales, recruiting, training, accounting, and human resources. There's probably more. But this is the type of stuff that falls to the CEO, right? Marketing, no joke. You know that you need to be marketing your real estate business.
Right.
Sales, that's the day-to-day, right? That's the get on the phone, set appointments, bag them and tag them, right? Negotiate, get people under contract, get people happily to the closing table. Recruiting, that's growing your team, training people. I think one of the biggest mistakes burgeoning teams make is they bring people on hoping that they'll just be self-taught and they won't ever really need leadership and guidance. Accounting, you don't have to be your own accountant. And Charlie, I think I told you this, that I have a new broker owner that I coach, and she is really proud of the fact that her skill is in bookkeeping and accounting, so she does it herself. And I just tried to be gentle because it was the first call. I was like, yeah, no.
Right.
I don't care if you are an accountant, right? And this is the thing that I said to my ex-husband: when you're in real estate, doing your own accounting is not a paying job. Right? It just isn't. Now, being wise enough to look over the shoulder of your bookkeeper or your accountant is great. And then human resources. And human resources could even involve taking care of yourself. Charlie, think about it. How many of our agents burn themselves into the ground, right? You are the most important asset in your business. Do you have paid time off?
Right.
Do you have health care? So human resources is one of the things that the CEO needs to be paying attention to. So what does the realtor do to execute the duties of a CEO? Write a detailed business plan. Review and revise the plan often, right? Seek the training to grow the skill in the areas that are needed to execute the plan. Track the numbers of the business. Know their meaning. And the need, the change that is needed that the numbers indicate, right?
Right.
The lead generation, the appointment conversion, income and expenses.
So
Know how.
how often are you reviewing this plan against the results?
Ooh, that's such a great question. And here's the thing. I think for those who don't have practice,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do it really, really often. So
Okay.
it really depends on how intricate it is. So I think for those who are new, what I said yesterday in business planning is you need to look at it every morning. Look
Yep.
at it every morning and do it for all of January until you know the thing like the back of your hand. And then you can just do it at CEO time, right?
Okay.
That's once a week. If you have the thing memorized and looking at it seems pointless, that's fine. I just kind of doubt it. I mean,
Yep.
I
Yep.
get a double dog dare anyone to recite it to me and tell me they have it memorized.
Right. Right.
So that's what I would say. I think, Charlie, most people say you really only need to review your plan quarterly. But I think that if it got away from you, if it slipped away from you for 90 days, I'm not quite sure what you were focused on in the meantime. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the 90-day rule is the bare minimum, and I think that is you're reviewing the plan against the results, maybe with that accountability partner, right? I mean, I've told the folks that I have in group coaching that once a quarter I want to be pulling out the plan and then comparing it against the results. But I think looking at it more is
what if once you had it really down?
Yep.
Where you feel like what you wrote is actionable. Because I think what a lot of people have written is relative fiction, and I'm not trying to be unkind.
Yeah.
It's more of a wish than a plan.
Right.
So I think you need to touch it and play with it so that you become familiar enough with the concept that it's meaningful to you. And then after that, if you can't compare activities and results against the plan monthly, I think 90 days is a long time.
It is a long time.
Old habits.
Well, yeah, and you end up forgetting about the plan, and you end up spending money where you don't want to spend money. You end up losing focus on a lead source and going down the rabbit hole of another one, right? You and I are both proponents of one lead source at a time. Get it to a level 10, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody the other day, and she was telling me that she was spending the bulk of her time that week. She had not called any past clients in Sphere. And she had spent all of her time on internet leads.
Okay.
Following up. Well, I pulled up her plan. She needs 25 deals this year from past clients in Sphere and
right.
2 from online leads. And I reminded her of that, right? The priorities are out of whack. So I think, reviewing that on at least a weekly basis, like you were saying, it helps refocus. Like, wait a minute, am I spending the time where I'm supposed to be spending it based on where these transactions are coming from?
Yep.
Now, if you want to switch it to online leads, fine. That's fine. Correct. Then change the plan.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yep. But if you're not intimate with your plan,
right?
I say don't cheat on the plan.
Yep.
Don't write it and shove it in a drawer and do something else. Edit it.
Yep. Right.
So yeah, that's what I think. And the reason I say daily is because most of us don't have a habit. We don't have that document have meaning.
At least, I'm thinking that the transactions piece,
yeah,
and maybe, the why, print those out and put them right here, right above your computer. Right. And if you work from home and you work from the office, print it out twice. Yeah. That way you're always looking at it. And if you start to drift and you just glance up, you're like, why am I spending time on this when I have no money allocated for this activity? Do I need to go back and refine the plan? Did I fall face first into some grand way to make money in real estate that I didn't, write down? Fine, great, right? Yeah. Just then adjust the plan, because there's people that are spending time on things that they shouldn't be. And then the marketing, I am all over our people to get the 2021 marketing plan done. And it's driving them crazy, right? I had the group coaching call, an hour ago, and they're like, well, I guess my action assignment this week is to finish the plan. I'm like, yeah, it is. The Friday is already the third Friday of the month. Time is moving whether we want it to or not, right? Yes. Let's go.
Yes.
And then you have the whole thing of, let's take advantage of a good market. Eyerusalem was talking about low rates, right? Let's not wait for rates to be 6% and everybody's going to pretend like it's like 18% when that happens, right? 6%. We haven't seen, eventually we may see that, right? The market's going to slow down. Let's make what we can while it's hot. So those that don't have the plan, let's get that wrapped up, right? Let's get the marketing plan wrapped up. and then spend the CEO time reviewing and implementing these things.
Yes. And so I want to say again, the reason I want you to look at it every day is the majority of the agents listening, and you know this is true, Charlie, have written plans before and not followed them.
Yes.
So I'm not shaming you. I'm just pointing out what's normal for all of us.
Yep.
So the only way you can create a new habit, the only way you can set a new thinking in your brain, a new filter in your brain, is to visit it every day, like an affirmation. Right. So I would say every day for a month, and then see how it goes. Then if you want to only do it once a week at CEO time to make sure you're on track, but that tracking, like you said, like you could just read it like an affirmation once a week.
Yep.
But then that comparing to the numbers could be monthly, just like you said. But I think 90 days is too long to just let the plane drift off course. I think you need to be checking and see if you're on pace. And if you discover that there's things you want to do that aren't in the plan, edit the plan. All right.
Yep.
Now, if you're intimidated by everything we've said, please just begin. Just begin. Sit down and say, Amy and Charlie said I have to look at this. I don't know why I'm here. Good for you. That's close enough, right? Look at the darn thing. Do it again tomorrow. It will start to make more sense. I think a lot of jumping into real estate is kind of jumping into the deep end of the pool without any swimming skills. And it just doesn't feel possible. But you can get there. Maybe the swimming analogy doesn't work for real estate. You will get there. Look at it, read it, get it to make sense to you. Google the things that matter. Get a friend to look over your shoulder. You really do need to commit. And here's the other thing, Charlie. I think the majority, I don't know, I would love to see a statistical average on brain type. Okay. Like, are there more, chatty lunatics like me in real estate than there are you? I think so. Because you're an analytical driver. Yeah. So the thing of it is, people who are willing to fly by the seat of their pants, that's kind of why they got into real estate. They want the freedom, they're good with people. And so being asked to slow down and use that less used analytical part of their brain,
it's hard.
It's challenging, right? I just want you to know that it's possible. Give yourself a fighting chance and just commit to doing a little you could learn to do military push-ups a little at a time. I mean, anything is possible. So I want to read the rest of the list. Okay. So CEO will manage the expenses of the company. We talked about that. Manage the marketing. And that doesn't mean wake up once in a while and go, golly, I should be marketing. No. There was a plan for that.
Right.
Do some research, create a plan, execute the plan, edit the plan, execute the plan. Look for ways to improve efficiency. Oh my goodness, this is what the CEO does, right? Look for ways to improve customer service. Look for ways to improve morale. I was on a coaching call yesterday with a couple, and she made it clear that they have to hire an assistant who will tolerate the fact that she is going to melt down and lose her on a regular basis. And I just said, sweetie, I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think we can put that in the job posting. I am the devil wears Prada boss. Get over it.
Right.
And I said, can we address the fact that you're melting down? And then she just softened and she's like, Amy, I wear too many hats. I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I said, can we please address that rather than say, this just has to be the way it is and everybody's going to have to get in line behind bat crazy, So take care of yourself. Look to improve your own morale. Be a good human resources manager. Don't accept exhaustion and overwhelm as the normal state of being in your business. Prepare for the tax filings and identify things to outsource, okay? Whether it's hiring a full-time assistant or any number of other ways to outsource tax to other people, that's the role of the CEO, and I promise you that with practice you can get better.
That's excellent stuff. Anything else today before we adjourn?
Well, I think we fire hosed them.
We did, yeah.
Maybe I wonder if I should offer to provide my little list that I created for those who weren't taking notes, again, just watching a casual show in the morning. I'm happy to. I made a list of things, but, follow up, Google it, follow our other shows. We're going to help you with all these things. There is a lot to running a real estate business, but there's a lot to a lot of jobs, okay? Most other high-paying jobs required a 4-year, 12-year degree, whatever that was.
Yep.
So Yes, there's a lot involved in doing this well. I promise you it's worth it. When people say, I don't have time for that crap, I don't have time to slow down, it's kind of a slow down to speed up. If you don't slow down and put some infrastructure in place, you will just be reacting and putting out fires the rest of your career and living on adrenaline with your heart racing in your throat. No way to live. No way to run a business. It's worth it. It's worth it to put this.
Yeah, and always waking up being out of business, not knowing where the next deal is. That's not a pleasant feeling. I was telling there were some people that were talking about this week being overwhelmed and too much business, and I reminded them, right, let's work on managing that, but let's also be grateful for the business that we have, because how many realtors woke up 2 days ago on Monday and they were overwhelmed because they had no business.
Sure.
And they weren't nowhere, they didn't know where their next rent or mortgage payment was going to come from. So start with the plan, get an accountability buddy to help you do it together, right? And I think that's a good place to leave it.
Well, we have a comment. I just tuned in. Where can I find the plan? I'm not quite sure what Jocelyn's asking. A business plan is where you begin, right? You need a business plan. I was offering to share my notes on what a CEO is and what a CEO does in a real estate business. But if you're talking about the word plan, I think we're talking about a business plan. Where is it? I don't know. Where could Jocelyn find it?
I think we've got a mini business plan on dominaterealestate.net, and we have the marketing plan on there as well. And that's a good place to start. And getting that stuff done, I think, is you're well on your way. Does it get into the granular level of a plan for each lead source? It doesn't, but at least you know where your money's coming from, how many deals you need to do, and then you can start on the marketing plan. And then from there, if you want a copy of our business plan, certainly you can reach out to me at charlesbengel@remax.net, and I can forward that to you.
Great. Yeah. And Remax Allegiance agents, please be looking to do marketing, business planning with marketing planning with us in the fall. Again, we a bunch of sessions. If you missed it, I'm sorry. We had fun. We'll do it again in 2020.
Yeah, I think we ended up with like 110 people through. So that was well worth those 3 sessions. Amy, always good to see you. Have a good rest of the day.